That's very funny, but also I imagine it was quite traumatic too.
It was
because
so
you know what was going on. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of The Moment. Hope you're good. Hope you've had a fabulous day, night, morning, whenever it is that you listen to this podcast. I hope things are working out for you. Maybe you used the 11/11 portal that happened yesterday if you're listening on specific days. I only just found out about it today. Apparently it's a really good luck time to put ideas out into the universe and they come to fruition if you do all the right things. But I didn't realise and I found out today, which is a little disappointing given I've got a few hopes and dreams. I would have liked to have thrown them out there had I known. So there really is something in the numbers 11/11, apparently, if you believe in that stuff. And a lot of people do. A lot of people use it as a guide and a tool. And sadly, I missed my window for the 11/11 portal. I hope you didn't suffer the same consequences. Today on the show, someone who is just absolutely fabulous and I adore her, comedian Lizzy Hoo. She had a big day yesterday. It was her birthday. And also she launched a brand new podcast. And her brand new podcast is just brilliant. It's Lizzy, who's entertaining in her own right, of course, being joined by special guests, comedians mostly, to talk about those moments where, well, we've all been there, where something so terrible happens, something so shameful or embarrassing or shocking or completely out of your control happens, where you just want the world to open up and then you disappear. She talks about those moments. So we'll be having a moment with her. I think I'll ask her about one of her favourite moments too, that may or may not have led to the creation of the idea of this podcast. I often say from the worst of times comes the best of ideas or the best of your creativity. And not saying that you rely on it, but I feel like this might be relevant in terms of Lizzy Hoo. So make sure you hang around for that. Before we dig in though, a couple of days ago on The Moment here, I talked about how happy I was for Melbourne band Amelia and the Sniffers for their Grammy nomination. It looks like you were too. Lots of people commenting on my social medias. Thank you. Appreciate you. It's always nice when people get excited about something like that. I think everyone sees the work that Amelia and the Sniffers have put in and feel that they are very, very deserving of this Grammy. So keeping our fingers crossed. But good news, if you are in Melbourne and you're listening to this today, guess what? They're doing a free gig in Melbourne, Federation Square, Friday. Oh, go along. I mean, there'll be thousands of people there. It will be amazing though. Hometown gig, Fed Square, centre of town, huge, absolutely huge. Speaking of huge, Oasis were recently in Australia. They've wound up their tour now. They've done their shows. Everybody's wrapped with the experience. I think in general, 98% of people that went along loved the shows, as far as I can tell. And look, you know, who am I? I'm not a statistician. It's all right. I can pretend. People don't come here for the facts. I've told you that. Don't rely on me for anything important in terms of numbers and breakdowns. That ain't happening here. You'll just get lovely cultural critique, what things mean for the broader culture. The really big issues get covered here on The Moment too. And I was scrounging around because it was a bit of a scrounge today, not heaps of news out and about, but I found something that piqued my interest with the headline, "What Liam Gallagher Left in the Fridge at Luxury Mount Martha Rental." Now, apparently Liam and his family stayed at a rental house in Mount Martha, which is probably about an hour and a half from Melbourne, and flew in to the shows via a helicopter. So that's the way to do it. No traffic, no people, straight in, straight out to the footy stadium. And I know that you're desperate to find out what he left in the fridge. And allegedly it wasn't stacks of booze, which you may or may not have assumed. I think I did. It was, in fact, Peter's vanilla ice cream that he bought from the Mount Martha IGA. Now, whether or not he actually went to the IGA himself, that would be hilarious. But it's good to know that the old bog standard Peter's ice cream is still getting a run for families on holidays. And the person who owned the house that Liam stayed at doesn't often rent out the house. In fact, I'm not sure they have before. It's Sam Wood, who was a bachelor in previous years and has the fitness enterprise that's online, you know, that 28 days one that I've paid for, lasted a day. I think we've all been there. He did say, though, when he was on radio earlier in the week, the recycling bin was chockers. They've had a good crack on one of the nights after one of the concerts. You would expect nothing less. However, I was interested to note that Liam's actually off the booze and off everything for the tour. And he's come out recently and said, in response to someone saying, you've done a great job staying healthy for the tour, you're absolutely killing it. He said this: Oasis saved my life. It's about time I sorted my napper out, and that means his head, I think. I know how much this means to people, so stopping drinking and smoking and snorting Garibaldi's are sacrifices that needed to be made. Them's the rules. MCFC. Now, that last bit was a nod to his hometown football team of Manchester City Football Club, but I learned something new then. Snorting Garibaldi's. Of course, I had no idea what he was talking about. And in the UK, the Garibaldi is a biscuit. And I was thinking, is that euphemism for drugs something to do with biscuits, perhaps? And, well, you snort cocaine, don't you? So it doesn't really make sense. So, of course, I looked it up. Just so you know. Like I said, don't come for the facts, but come for the investigative journalism on slang terms, for all the things you never thought you needed a slang term for. I did not know that there is a Mount Garibaldi in Canada. And, of course, it is a very large mountain that has snow on the top. So therein lies the link. People often say they feel smarter after listening to this podcast, so I'm not sure where that takes you. I'm not sure if you had a chance to catch the Rosalia single that I spoke about last week, that incredibly powerful orchestral work, operatic, had everything going on. It's amazing. It's got music critics just losing their minds over it. People suggesting that there's a huge shift musically in terms of what we will see in future from pop music because of that track. And another song came out yesterday that I think will do the same thing, or at least show what artists are capable of in terms of working in the pop realm and the contemporary music realm, what kind of sounds they can come up with when they think outside of the box. Now, someone who always thinks outside the box is Charli XCX. She is utterly brilliant. She not only created Brat Summer, which was a movement for last year, she's actually quite the musical genius, has been doing this for a very, very long time, and her success was very well deserved. There's a lot of pressure, I guess, to follow up Brat. And what she's done now is create something for a movie, which is the new forthcoming Wuthering Heights film, directed by Emerald Fennell, who, of course, created the controversial Saltburn of a couple of years ago, and it will be starring Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. And Charli XCX has done the soundtrack for this film. So people aren't expecting Brat 2 with this soundtrack, but I don't think they were expecting what they got, which is a complete 180 in terms of the soundscape that she's created on the first song that's been released from the soundtrack, and it is magnificent. Go and look it up. I'm urging you, seriously. It features the vocals of John Cale. He's doing like a spoken word piece throughout it. It's called House. And John Cale, if you're familiar with his voice, it really resonates in a way, but it's also quite haunting. And if you've heard him with his work in the Velvet Underground too, it can be a little unsettling. It's on the edge of darkness. It's not danger. It's very evocative, however you interpret John Cale's voice. And the music, the accompaniment is strings. Again, we're heading into different instrumentation. It also grows into something that's quite distorted and quite ominous. There's a real sense. It's called House, and the lyrics are, I'm going to die in this house. So it's incredibly filmic and evocative, and it actually makes me want to go and see Wuthering Heights. If this is the vibe is good. Not good as in positive. I think it's a brilliant song. I loved it. I'm not sure it's going to race up the pop charts in the same way that Brat did, but if it's any indication of what Charli's done for this soundtrack, then I'm all in, boots and all. Oh, and Charli's actually said that this soundtrack was inspired by the Velvet Underground, of course, which, as I mentioned, John Cale was a member. He's 83 now. She was watching a doco recently about the band, and she said this of the doco: as many of you know, I'm a huge fan of the band and was really taken by that documentary. One thing that stuck with me was how John Cale described a key sonic requirement of the Velvet Underground, that any song had to be both elegant and brutal. There you go. I've been trying to find the words for what this song was. and she just tied it all up with a nice little bow. Go and have a look. It's nice to be excited about music again, though, isn't it? It's nice to be excited by what people are going to do next. And speaking of that, someone's just done something next. Released it yesterday, in fact, and that is comedian Lizzy Hoo. She's up next. It was a big day yesterday for my next guest. It was her birthday, and that's a significant day in itself, but it was something else as well. It was the launch of a brand new podcast, which is, you know, I'm sure it's not like birthing a baby, but we'll use that analogy because it's your heart and your soul, and you're putting it out there to the world, and you're hoping for the best for this grand idea that you've had. So I want to congratulate her, but also see how she's feeling. Lizzy Hoo, hello.
Hi, Myf. Thanks so much for having me on the moment.
Oh, well, you are the moment. You had one yesterday, and apologies to anyone who's actually had a child. I haven't, but who heard that analogy and went, "Get off! That's ridiculous. It's nothing like it." But it was a big day yesterday for you. Your podcast kicked off. A fresh iteration of it, the Lizzy Hoo Show. Talk me through it. Yeah. How was the day?
Oh, the Lizzy Hoo Show is back. Well, it's kind of my old podcast 2.0, and we're calling it the Lizzy Hoo Show, which I kind of love, Myf. It feels very late night. You can listen to it anytime. I would rather it be matinee, to be honest, like a show a matinee show that you can just listen to before you have your nap or something. But you probably won't nap after these stories. I get people on Myf that are like, they're mostly comedians and like fun people that have great stories. And we launched yesterday with my friend Beck Melrose, who's an amazing comedian. She writes on programs like Grew and Transfer and The Weekly and Question Everything. And she is I think she is honestly one of the sharpest, quickest minds in comedy. She is so funny. And she 6 months ago became a new mum. And she tells me all about her birth story and how her birth photo got leaked. And it is hilarious. Yeah.
I have to say I've listened and I was squealing. Absolutely squealing. It's like your worst nightmare, your most vulnerable position, i.e. on all fours in a birthing suite. And then it got sent off to someone else.
Got sent off to her husband sent it off to some guy. And yeah, they never heard back from him, which is hilarious, I think.
Rude, I think. I mean, what would you say? She said something along the lines of not even a congratulations.
Yeah, I know. Hey, mate, good on you. Well done. Hot wife.
Yeah. Look, this podcast is, as you said, it's 2.0 from a podcast you've already done. And through the whole thing, I guess the through line is you're talking to people about that moment where things have happened that feel so bad that you're not sure you'll ever recover. You sometimes just want the world to go black, you disappear. Like everyone goes through these moments at some point in their life. What have you learnt from everyone's stories?
Oh, I think I learned that you just have to let that stuff go. Oh, life is really funny. Even the shit stuff is just, if you give it enough time, oh my God, like we can all laugh about it. Like I've had stories of people like losing money for their bosses, bad housemates. One of my mates coming up, Jake Howie, who's so funny. He tells me about 3 different housemates consecutively in different houses that were all diabolical. And it's like, how does this happen? Like, what? You seem like so normal and together, and then at one point in your life, you were living this insane life.
Give me an example. Like, what was he doing? What was going on? Was it just chaotic?
He had his housemate. He moved to London, this fresh-faced 24-year-old moved to London and then had this housemate who seemed okay at the time. And then all of a sudden, these strange red flag moments happened. Like the housemate would have all these orgies and there's all these like people like streaming out of his room. And then Then Jake realizes that he's cooking ice in the kitchen and all this sort of stuff. And it's just insane stuff. And Jake's like, oh, I just thought it was like sugar on a tray. And Jake is this beautiful, wholesome Kiwi boy. He eventually realized that his landlord wasn't taking his money, but he wasn't handing it on to the actual person that owned the house. So that's why he eventually left. But all these things were happening and he was like, oh my gosh. But it was just like sort of like a coming of age, you know, when you go overseas and you meet these crazy characters and you think the best of people, and then all of a sudden it's actually so crazy. And then he had like an equally as crazy story for the next housemate. And I was like, wow. It's like, I know, I was so innocent.
You've got to have that. You've got to have that. I live with a few definitely freaks in my share house living. And that's the thing, isn't it? It is rite of passage, but there's an innocence. When this stuff goes really bad, it's usually because you don't question your environment, or you didn't know enough, and then you're caught in a situation.
Yeah, and I still think that happens now with my life. I'm like, oh yeah, you seem like a nice person, and then you get yourself in like sticky situations. You're like, you're crazy.
Well, I remember a certain story that you told when we did Bang On Live, when you were caught out by a radio interview. I don't know if you want to go into it here, but it's like one of my favourite stories of all time, Lizzy, because you didn't know. You hadn't sort of got all the details, and they're called up to do an interview, and then the worst thing imaginable happened.
Oh my gosh. I have to tell the story now. But this story actually kind of inspired the idea for this podcast. So in my podcast, I get everyone to talk about what I call like a situation, which is a shitty situation that people find themselves in, right? And this particular situation kind of inspired a chat that I was having with friends when we were traveling, and I'll just say it, we were talking about places you've shit yourself, literally shit yourself. And then everyone was talking about their time, and everyone has a time. I don't care who you are, but you've had a time. And I brought up my time, and everyone was floored.
Yes.
And it was about this time. It was sort of COVID era. We were doing a lot of Zoom stuff, and I was doing this ABC radio interview on a Friday night. There were no gigs on, so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take this radio interview. And I was expecting the interview to go for like 5 minutes, but it ended up going for almost an hour. But before the interview, it was COVID time, so all the restaurants were doing these beautiful meals. And my partner at the time, we ordered this beautiful Italian meal from Pasta Amelia in Sydney. Shout out to Pasta Amelia. And I shouldn't eat this stuff. I shouldn't eat creamy pastas. But
got to have it sometimes.
You've got to have it, and I just shouldn't. So I got this creamy pasta, but I thought, look, I'm at home. If things go wrong, I'm at home. Doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yeah.
I'm not in.
You know what's coming, and so, but you prepare yourself. Like it's okay. Go
I was
for
in
it.
the right environment, and then we start the interview, and gosh, the interview just kept going, Myf. Kept going and going, and then all of a sudden, like halfway through the interview, I was like, oh no, things are moving, my waters have broken. Like it felt like that. I was like, oh dear Lord. And just during the interview, this is so disgusting, but I was too scared. I couldn't just hang up. People are like, why don't you just hang up? And I'm like, I couldn't do that. Like, I'm a professional. I'm not hanging up on an interview. They're like, why didn't you just go in one of the breaks? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know when they were coming back or what. I was just too scared to like let go of the interview. So it was so bad. I just had to poo my pants in my office chair, in my ergonomic office chair. It was so bad. And you can kind of tell in the interview, obviously, like I got the interview because I've done a stand-up about it, and I got the interview from the ABC, and I was like, I'm going to go through this interview, and I can tell when it happened. I was answering questions like, yeah, this comedy career, how did you pivot from full-time work into comedy? I was like, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden I was just answering questions like, yep, mm-hmm. I know.
That's the thing when those interviews go on, you don't know. Like they might play a song, but they might do like a
It was
10-second
so
sting.
bad.
So you can't leave. Like you're sort of stuck. And unless they tell you it goes for an hour, you don't know. Oh, I love your professionalism though, Lizzy. Like
Thank
from the
you.
worst of things, like that's, that's very funny, but also I imagine it was quite traumatic too.
I was
Because
so
you know what was going on.
traumatized. And the worst thing was, like during the break, because there were some songs that played during the interview, and during one of these songs, I just popped my head out of the office at home and I yelled out to my ex-partner. I was like, "Babe, Paul, I need a towel." It was so bad. But that is definitely on the grosser end of these situations that people are telling me. That is like a textbook situation. But we've broadened that. You don't have to, guests don't come on and talk about their poo. It's just a general shitty situation. There's only actually one podcast in the series that is about that. So yeah.
Well, look, from the worst of times, though, comes the best of things. And often,
Yeah.
I mean, that gave you the idea for the podcast, which is now the Lizzy Hoo Show. And it's just
True.
awesome. I'm so pleased for you. And obviously
Thanks.
you've got quite a few episodes coming up. Any good guests we might need to know about?
Oh, definitely. I've got Conchetta Caristo coming up, Triple J breakfast host, who's just such a light and breath of fresh air. My mate Jake Howie, who I mentioned before, he is just so funny, and he's my first repeat guest actually. Like he's so good that I got him back. Another mate, Eden McGovern, who's a comedian, tells a really interesting story. And I've got also my friend Steph Broadbridge, who wrote Breaking, the musical. Yes.
Yeah.
So she tells me all about that and how, Ray Gunn tried to sue her, which we discuss in the podcast is the craziest sentence. Like, she's like, I can't believe.
Was it 2024 or 2025? What is time? I mean, but no one could have expected all of that to happen after, just every level of all of that is just bonkers, isn't it?
Absolute bonkers. And one of the best storytellers, I think, in comedy is Nikki Britton, and she comes on and tells an amazing story. She's one of those people that I've been on tour with, and she will tell a story in the hotel after the gig, and we've had to have an intermission. Because they're so good. But so I feel like this podcast was made for people like Nikki. Like, unbelievable.
Yeah. Her place to shine, and it's your time to shine too. What else have you got going on? Have you got gigs and things coming up, or are you going to have a bit of a rest?
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm in that zone now where I'm writing for next year. So I've got some shows coming up in Sydney at the Opera House in February, early Feb. So like a little summer show. And then I'll be back for all the festivals next year, starting Perth Fringe, Adelaide Fringe, Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney. It's all happening. Just trying to find the situations in my life now so I can talk about them on stage.
Yeah. Well, keep mining it, because your life, that is, because we love it and we love you. So thank you, Lizzy. You're the best, and chookers for the new podcast.
Thank you.
This is an MIK made production recorded on Wurundjeri land. Always was and always will be Aboriginal land.